Okay, so starting off with this one, I've had a lot of questions as to why I did this sideways and the giraffe looking upside down. And in sort of your more spiritual, open-minded communities, the animal card that's drawn with the giraffe perfectly encapsulates the concept of reframing, because the giraffe's a tall animal, it can see further ahead, and it's, with it looking upside down like that, it's looking at things from a different perspective. So that was the theme behind why doing that and putting everything on its side, because the world that we're living in right now is literally on its side and has changed completely. I mean, we've all been affected and we weren't ready for this. So on to the next one. Okay, so welcome to so far our one participant. And we've already covered the question of why today. It's Good Friday, it's 1 o'clock. There we go, somebody's like to join, admit. Hi, Vet. Hi, Vet. Just waiting for her audio. Obviously, we got a 30-minute limit, so I'll restart once we get up and running again. I'm just going to continue while it connects. The reason why I chose today, 1 o'clock on Good Friday, is that, you know, things have changed so much now that we have to reframe and look at our priorities and what's important. And the businesses that take this very seriously and start moving now are the ones that are going to survive and move through. Yvette, I'm just going to say welcome. I can see you've joined. Yeah, thank you for joining. You can keep your mic muted for now. We'll leave questions to the end of the session. And yeah, welcome. It's good to have you with us. So that's the main reason why I had it today. The businesses that are serious about moving forward and the people who actually really invest, they're the ones who are going to survive through this. We're all going to have to innovate. On to the next section. So, is it all doom and gloom? Coronavirus, lockdown extended, all of these bad reports, and life as we know it has changed. The world as we know it is going to change. So I put the world in the background for this presentation. You know, everything's going to change. The big question is our perspective about that. So the current perspective is the situation is serious. This is a crisis. It's not something to be taken lightly. South Africa's lockdown has been extended by another 2 weeks. Many other countries have extended. Will there be a second wave of infection? That's part of why they're extending the lockdown situations. And it's lessons learned from the Spanish flu. And, you know, with the Spanish flu, there was a second wave. And I think if my research was right last night that I was doing, was that it was the second wave that actually caused the most problem within that. So that's why they're extending. And there's seriously a really good chance that this is going to continue and be extended much further than this recent 2-week one. I mean, oh my word, you know, we all saw it coming. We all expected that it was going to be extended, but, you know, hats off to Cyril Ramaphosa and the government and everybody banding together. Probably not the best to announce it on the eve of Good Friday and Easter weekend with the bomb of bad news for everyone. Would have been nice if they'd given us maybe just the weekend to stock up on some booze and things like that. But, you know, it is what it is. This is our reality. And we're all in the same boat. That's from the smallest business to the largest corporations. They're all going to be struggling and looking at their future, how they're going to pay their basic bills, how they're going to be able to continue and keep their doors open. And there's a massive burden on large corporations to cut back and to donate and keep their employees paid. Everybody's struggling. I bet everybody last night, from all types of business owners, from the small guys all the way through to the big CEOs of big companies, didn't sleep very well last night. They're all sitting wondering, hey, how the heck are we going to do that? So we're all in the same boat together. which means we have to work together. This is a global situation. This isn't unique to South Africa. I actually wanted to include, South Africa is actually one of the best places to be at the moment, because, we were about to be downgraded by Moody's. And if this hadn't happened and we got downgraded by Moody's and the rest of the world was A-OK, we would have had a really big problem. Reality is now we got lucky because everybody else is going to get downgraded. It's a huge economic crisis and downfall. So that's actually really, really good. We've acted swiftly. South Africans are some of the most innovative people ever. If you look at Formula One, the wraps that they put on the tires to keep the tires warm for when the guys go out on the track, that was designed and developed by a South African. The Apache helicopter, the first helicopter to be able to do a backflip, and all the technical advancements with it, that was developed by, actually, it was students from the University of Stellenbosch. That technology was developed by them. That was known as, I think it was the Roy Falcon, that's now was bought by the Americans, the technology which has led to the Apache helicopter. During apartheid, the world cut us off from supply of oil. So South Africa said, oh, okay, fine, we'll find another way. We're the only country in the world that can produce oil through another method, being coal. So we're most innovative, most resilient people. South African scientists who are making huge headway, more so than everybody else, in terms of breaking the genome, which is linked to the virus, which is a step towards a vaccine and a cure. So you know what? Not a bad place to be. It really isn't. So just as a little bit of fun, we all said that we wanted the 20s back. I wasn't around for this, but if anyone knows the song, which won't play now. See, there's a fail. Doesn't matter. So everyone was excited when 2020 came. Yay, let's bring back the 20s. Well, we really got it back. We need to keep calm and carry on. It's the 20s again. We got massive economic crash. Granted, the economic crash happened in 1929, and the influenza outbreak, which was the Spanish flu, was technically from 1918 to 1920. But the reality is we've got prohibition now, we've got economic global crash, we've got limited movement and crowd gathering. And the US, during the beginning of the 20s, it was a massive boom, but with the 1929 market crash that led to the Great Depression. And then you had world wars. Thankfully, we've only just got a pandemic to deal with. We don't have a world war around the corner. Imagine if that was to happen. So do we look at this as something really, really bad, or do we see it as an opportunity? So in the wake of the panic and the long depression of 1873, and as a result now of this window, which I need to move, I can't read, but the subsequent decades saw a rise of major new innovations. That's from the light bulb, the phonograph, telephones, electric power, telephone systems, urban transport development. The Great Depression, it was far away the most technologically progressive decade in the 20th century. There was a huge, massive growth in entrepreneurship, which we're going to see now. That's definitely going to happen. Developed the electric razor, car radios. There's just too many to mention, and I didn't want to waste too much time doing, research on all of them. We've seen lots on Facebook. Isaac Newton developed his theory of gravity during the Spanish flu lockdown and all of those things. So invention is necessity is the mother of invention. So it's an English language proverb, and it means roughly that the primary driving force for new innovations is a need. Now, if you go very much back into the basics of marketing, and this is sort of a little taster of where I'm going with this, is the basic principle of marketing really is finding a need and providing a solution to satisfy that need. So, time for us to reframe. What is reframing? So to reframe, you need to take a step back from what's being said and done and consider the frame or the lens through which your reality is being created. And that's what we're seeing with all the bad news. This is shut down. We can't do this. We can't do that. How many of you guys, you can all nod because there's all three of you. and Yvette is with us, but not on video. But I mean, how many of you have had all your contracts cancelled, projects cancelled? You can't do work, you can't go out, you can't do installations in this year. Quentin, you probably can't go out and do installations in the IT sector. There's massive restrictions. And when you're faced with that and constant bad news, it's very easy to look at things and go, oh my word, what now? I can't do my business. I can't pay my bills. We're all in that same boat. So what do we do about it? Well, we reframe. We have to re-look at the lens through which we look at the reality that we are being faced with. And we need to consider alternative lenses, effectively saying, let's look at it another way. Challenge the beliefs or the other aspects of this frame that we are seeing, or the lens that we are seeing. And you can reframe a problem as an opportunity, a weakness as a strength, an impossibility as a distant possibility. A distant possibility is a near possibility. It is there. It can be done. It's been done before. So let's talk peace. Massive P. So what do you understand and know about marketing? And I mentioned it earlier as my little snippet is marketing is very much on its very basic level, identifying a need and providing a solution to satisfy that need. That is the basis. Very basic, old school marketing where it started way back in the day. All right. So there are currently 8 P's in marketing. I don't want to go through them because the world's changing and probably will never be the same again. The way we do business is going to be different. Economic models are going to change. Dylan and I were chatting earlier, and I brought up the concept of, will capitalism still be relevant? Been watching it as an economic model. I don't think it's long-term sustainable. There's a great need for a whole new economic model that we work on. We're going to move into simpler economies, simpler, more creative, sort of simpler, more open and creative way of doing business is what's needed. We've got to keep it simple, stupid. The old basic KISS concept, keep it simple. So let's go back to the main 4 initial P's of marketing. If we're going to go back to simple, so let's start with the first one, the first and main one. This is where you start in terms of marketing, is your product. And in this current situation is look at what your product offering is. What are you offering? Is it meeting a current need? Does it provide a solution for what's needed right now? Is there still a need for your product or a market for it? Are there unique ways to get your product to market? Talking to various different people who we're trying to get essential permits for them to be able to provide services and things that's very much needed. We have to look at the basics again of what people really, really need. So you need to reframe and look at your product and what you have and look at it and change. The Stell is doing hand sanitizer at the moment. Many different companies have changed and things like that. You've got guys making masks now and all of those things. Just as another example, which is a good example and a bad example, and that's why I chose this as a case study. Nokia, over the years, they started out making tires. They diversified and produced everything from tires to toilet paper to electronic power generation, and then manufacturing phones. And, as us all growing up, the Nokia 3310 was the phone to have. Problem is, when smartphones started developing and the industry changed, they didn't adapt quick enough to the change. They stuck to their models. They did not innovate. They did not change and go with it. So a good place to start is market research. What sectors and industries have a need? So I'm sure all of you have done the various different application forms for what's seen as business rescue stuff that's around, which is technically basically just an interest-free loan that you're going to have to pay back anyway. But in there, they list certain sectors that are very important, that are seen as essential right now. Those are food, farmers, manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, etc., etc., etc. But what you've got to do is do a bit of market research and see what sectors, industries, what people actually need. What is the competition like in that? So now everybody's jumped onto all the different bandwagons that are the obvious ones standing right in front of you, which is producing masks, producing hand sanitizer, etc., etc. So that market's going to be flooded. Food is one of the ones that people are struggling with and trying to work out right now. But there are many various different things and opportunities, and each business is unique. So what that unique solution that you can provide and look for the need, it will depend on each business. But it's just a way of thinking about, well, what do I have? What can I produce? And what need is there that I can satisfy at the end of the day? So what can you produce to match the market needs? Then let's go on to price. Pricing is going to need to change. We have to build a brand new economy from the ground up. Yes, government supporting with these various different initiatives and things, but they're just loans. And it's up to the middle class, actually, at the end of the day, to innovate, create, and rebuild an economy. It's where it's going to boil down to. The onus is, at the beginning of all of this, everybody said your responsibility is just to stay at home and do social distancing. Well, at the end of the day, our responsibility is actually to regroup and rebuild from scratch and from a ground up approach. So that's a part of your thinking that you're going to do. The profit margins that you used to, are those still valid? Probably not. What can the target market that you've identified and the need that you find, what can they actually afford? Do you need to look at economies of scale where you're looking at a much smaller profit margin, but you're producing a larger quantity of whatever it is, that through that you can get by? And you sometimes might even have to actually take a bit of a knock where you're not working towards having money to save or invest or put back into your company. You got to reframe to be like, well, what's my bottom line? What do I need to bring in to break even and just pay my employees and keep my business ticking over, so that I'm ready and I survive through this, that once all of this is passed, I'm ahead of the curve of everybody, that I can get up and get running and carry on going. It's very important. We've gone from one survival mode in terms of the first few weeks of, okay, we're locked down, get the family together, start making plans for food. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? Etc., etc. Now is the time to go into the other survival mode of, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And it's all boils down to reframing and how we approach this. So the other thing is does everything need to be cash-based? There's room for barter. There's referrals, word of mouth, and reviews are worth so much. For those of you who are not familiar with BNI, it's a very good place to be right now. The support and things that's there is phenomenal. So those things are worthwhile. So, you might be able to do a little bit of work for somebody, but their good review or their word of mouth or their contacts that they can put you into contact with, that's value now. That's a commodity. You got to look at unique ways of doing business. Cash may not only always just be king at the end of the day. Yes, of course, bottom line, you got to pay the bills, but you got to look at the bigger picture. Do a small investment now, do something, and that can lead to a bigger picture. Might put you in contact with a bigger government corporation or whatever the case may be, in a bigger contract, or people who actually have access to large capital that they can invest in you because they're seeing what you're doing and giving back. There's some great companies, and this is just one small or simple example. Fiona from Body Talk, one of the unique things she's doing is offering a donation-based session. I did one with her yesterday. We're doing a barter. I'm going to do a one-on-one marketing strategy session with her, and she's identified some needs that I'm working on and doing some research, and in exchange, she gave me a session. That works. It's a win-win for both of us. I needed the session, and she needs the help for strategy. It's the bigger picture looking at things. So how you price and represent yourself now is also a great opportunity as a marketing exercise. If you're going to try and be greedy and push and chase that money, that's not going to represent your brand well. Everybody's in the same boat, and everybody's looking at who's doing what and how they're treating everyone. And at the end of the day, if you don't represent yourself properly, then you're going to hurt your brand really and how you represent it. And so much work will need to be done on what you need to do and what you need to survive, and as well as at the same time give back. It all comes down to balance. Place. Now this is the tricky one, because now lockdown has limited distribution channels and opportunities for us to do business. Only what is deemed as an essential service can continue as normal. So there's a big movement to online. Everybody's doing, which is great and good to learn. And it's a nice opportunity to learn these new skills. This is my first webinar. I'm learning by doing. It's not going to be fantastic, but hey, let's do it. This is going to be part of the new norm. But are there other unique strategies and ways to continue other than online? Each company, product, and situation is unique, and you'll need a personalized solution and a personalized strategy, and looking at how to do things uniquely. There are options of pre-selling, specials for later delivery. There are a few companies doing that, but unless people see what you're going to be providing as an essential for down the road, right now they're only spending money on the very basics to keep their heads above water. So pre-selling and specials for later delivery, yeah, there's maybe room for that, but it depends on the company and the product, if there's really a need for it. So then on to promotion. Now this one's always a fun one. As soon as there's an economic crisis, promotion is the one that hits the floor the most and gets affected the most. Budget gets cut straight away, and reality is right now everybody's going to have to cut their promotional budget, or what's seen as traditional marketing or advertising. And I don't get to watch terrestrial TV much, but watching The Address yesterday and things like that, I saw a couple of adverts. So yeah, there's big brands, they're all doing the same thing. SAB's doing this big drive of sports finished, but we're all one team and our marketing budget's going into that. They're all saying the same message, but what are they actually really doing? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, how they're representing themselves. So you really need to look at smart strategic ways to promote. And it does take a lot of courage and a bit of vulnerability to look at, I literally have nothing to work with right now, but I have to find a little piece of a pie to promote myself. But there are new and unique ways of doing that, and it can be done. You've got to reframe, relook, and re-strategize. Everything that we know is changing. It literally is changing. We don't have a choice. This is what's happening. And how you represent yourself during this period is vital for long-term brand image and your overall marketing. The very fact that not only could you survive, but you contributed to the economy, you rebuilt economy, you did innovation, you changed, you adapted, and you went through and you survived while trying to give back at the same time. That is the story that you get to tell once we survive all of this. And I truly believe we all will. The reality is how you do this now will be your bigger picture long-term goal. So right now, you're looking at short-term changes and things like that, but you've got to keep that long-term period in mind. What you do now is going to determine that in the future. You need to survive now, yes. You also need to look at the bigger picture. And reality is, I won't be surprised if this isn't extended through to August. They might do a little bit of lightening of some of the restrictions with time, but we're looking at all the way through to August. One positive thing also about being in South Africa is China is one of the only companies or countries that seems to have handled things and is in a better position. And they're one of our main trade partners. So that's a good thing, because looking at the US, and maybe I'm being a bit preemptive like this, but the way they've handled it, they're going to take a heck of a lot longer to come back than what China and the East is going to do. So our links to the East is going to be, for a country, a very good advantage moving forward. Just my 2 cents and thoughts on that one. All right, so let's open up the chat. I have no idea where to find that right now. Give me a couple seconds, but let's unmute mics, and yeah, if anybody has any questions, give me a shout.
No questions from me. Just thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Quentin. Anybody else?
Yeah, the same from my side. Thanks for the info. Very interesting. It's I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think after yesterday's extension of the lockdown. You have to innovate, man. And I'm trying to figure out different ways of how I can actually get out there and keep some kind of money coming into the company, coming into the business. We just have to try and see how we can make it work. I'm trying to figure out exactly what my current channels are, how I can add to it, how I can add some sort of benefit, possibly through the vendors, possibly, I don't know. I'm trying to think of all kinds of things at the moment.
Yeah, it is a tricky one. Well, the good news is since you're the only participant, the giveaway was 5 free personalized strategic sessions to look at how your business can survive this. So guess what? Everybody gets 1 free hour with me. Quentin, you've now got like 2.5 hours with me, so we can do a nice long chat if you want to. Everybody gets an hour's strategic session with me if you'd like to take it up. So drop me an email, and we'll set it up and we'll do a booking and an appointment. Dylan, from your side, any questions? Dylan's
Sorry, I just need to unmute that there.
Unmute, yeah.
Yeah, no, Chris, I also just thank you for the chat. I agree with your concepts and taking it back to basics, because a lot of information out there, a lot of like your mind going a lot of different directions, and we sometimes forget the basics. But yeah, luckily, I mean, I've been trying to innovate into the online space for quite a long time now. I've been wanting to run a full online company where all the staff is online, but now getting ass kicked into gear where it has to be done today. It's nice to see the whole world going that way in a sense that like we can do it. It's just how to get the industries that struggle on the online space to make good use of it is not an easy thing.
No. It is a challenge, and there's a lot of hard graft ahead for all of us. And that's also why I did this on a Friday at 1 o'clock, because it's only people who are really serious about their business and wanting to survive and do things. We're back to basics and we're consolidating. So yes, it's Good Friday and it is a religious holiday and all of those things, but the reality is we've got to move, and we've got to move now. That's just where we're at. Yvette, would you like to ask any questions? And unmute.
Hi there. No questions from me. Also, just thank you very much. So agree, it's starting up from scratch, being innovative and finding how and where and what. It becomes difficult for me personally, moving things online and then not having a distribution channel really. That's where it's gotten me personally. But yeah, thank you, Chris, for that.
Yeah, no, and well, Yvette, I'm looking forward to meeting you. I've met previously with Nazia, Dylan, and Quentin, who are with us. So I really look forward to meeting with you, finding out more about your business. And as I said, you got a free 1 hour strategic session with me, so we can look at some unique solutions for you.
Awesome, look forward to that.
Anyone's welcome to contact me anytime. You've got my details. If you don't, you can ask for them in the chat. I'll send it to you. You can WhatsApp me anytime. If you have a question, if you want to bounce something off, drop me a voice note. I'm really happy to just share ideas. If you're thinking of something and you just want to bounce it off me, go ahead. We're here to support each other.